Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dragon Age vlog number 16. Woo! For season 3. Yeah. And there's so much to talk about. My
Holy
goodness.
shit. So much.
I'm going to argue we talk about this in chronological order so we can spend the bulk of the time on the really important thing.
Yeah. Otherwise, we're going to talk a lot about the last part. Let's start over in the beginning.
Okay, let's talk about the relationships first, and then...
Okay, yeah. Let's go down. So we had Russo first.
Yep. Russo going on his date. Very cute.
Yeah.
Tommy, like, did that date end up going the way you envisioned? Like, I'm just curious what you...
It went most of the way I saw it going, simply because, like, I'll be upfront, when we started the campaign, I really had no intention of Russo really romancing anyone unless it felt natural. The whole thing with Violetta was, like, they were so similar personality-wise to where it made too much sense for me not to have Russo pursue Violetta. The one thing that almost made him stop right there was when Violetta said, "I can't have children anymore." That was actually a deep thing at Russo. But at the end of it, it's like, I adopted. We can adopt again if she's game with it.
Yeah.
You can't help when the perfect person comes in.
Yeah, I said that mostly because it's nothing wrong with her specifically. She is older, so she's not. I would say that she's in her late 30s, early 40s. I would say, at which point having a child at that age is just riskier. So it's not impossible. There's nothing fertility wrong with her other than her age. Is all I'm saying. The door's still open if that's a conversation that you want to have with her at some point.
I feel like they talk about it, but ultimately, like, he'd be okay with adoption being the way they go. Especially given his childhood and, like, raising Balin and everything. It's epilogue material if I get there, character-wise, with Russo.
Yeah.
I will say, like, that scene was way more... It was a lot more thematic than I thought it was going to be, simply because, like, I was expecting it to be very much just talk, kiss, and then that's it, but I really enjoyed getting to see Violetta really open up, because she never really got that in Season 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we also got I really liked the nod to more insight on her previous relationships with not only Bostwick, but also Theoben.
I'm really curious to know what Violetta went to speak with Narika about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I really want to know.
I have a feeling that will be answered eventually.
We can just pressure her. Anyway.
I can't wait to see Pasha's confessionals for that whole scene. I feel like there's going to be many of them.
No, Russo, don't do it. Don't. I thought I raised you better. Like,
it's all just gonna be like, I disapprove. Why this one? Why this one?
Darren.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Damn you stealing, but I guess it makes sense.
Yeah. Daretham and Darren.
You could always have a reverse harem, you know?
I mean, it's a possibility.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest as Tyrion. It might. Like, I considered trying to do it at the end, like when we're getting near to winter, because I felt that's the most powerful, like probably the best. But I'm not a rusher.
I mean, all I'm saying is there isn't a ring on anyone's finger yet, so
True.
Nobody's made any like lifelong commitments yet. So,
but good on you, Darren. You beat me.
But yeah, I mean, for Daretham, he really, like he said, it's very much, and this is kind of my own personal thing. It's I want to try. So, it was kind of that sense where I, as a player and also as the character, were like, this character has feelings and also has things that they want to talk about to say. This complicates stuff. So communication, and just sat down and was just like, hey, so here's the sitch, here's what I feel, and if you want to try, then I want to try too.
Don't worry, Tyrion. I'm pretty sure that Darethim will eventually go crazy with the addiction, and you can just swoop in.
This is
swoop
really
in.
Tyrion's big brain move. He's gonna go smash the Darethim.
Yeah.
He's gonna be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry."
I mean, I could. There's all the options of blackmail, but honestly, that just feels like a crime to me, and I wouldn't do that. So
Tyrion's playing the long game. He's playing the long game. So
yeah,
you'll see.
That's-
You'll see.
He's going to wait for Dartham's funeral, and whilst Darren is like, she's crying at the grave, he's just going, hey.
There. Poor thing. There. I know.
King Philip of you.
all right.
Well, yeah. So, and that was most of everything there. And then,
Well, we also got
it's
some
funny,
research.
like, oh yeah, we did all the research stuff, which that's interesting how that works. So maybe lyrium darkspawn blood could nullify it. Maybe
It repels it. It could be delirium blood, or it could be because of our chakra bloods, if that's a
True.
possibility.
true.
I
So-
found it interesting that normal lyrium canceled out the green.
Yeah.
In darkspawn blood, but
In pure lyrium, the green's like,
Made it a lot worse.
It was,
Yeah.
it was gonna transform. So lyrium, the green lyrium is no bueno.
Could Athumiel control the taint potentially?
I don't like where this is going.
So, strictly speaking, the archdemon is the body, not the soul.
Okay.
So you have the soul of Athumiel, which means you probably have Athumiel in her purest form. What happens to the archdemon is a transformation of the body of the dragon. So there's a difference between Uthumiel and the archdemon.
Okay.
We'll get back to the soul stuff later because there's lots more in the middle and lots of stuff.
I don't know unless anyone else has a Darethim thing. It was mostly just a
No.
sweet thing.
Yeah,
We
it was
did
very
have
sweet.
Yeah, we did a couple of role plays in though. Like after we had we had me, Darethim, and Pasha trying.
Oh yeah, that was a very interesting conversation. Pasha, Callista, what did you think of that?
Here's the thing, because my thoughts on that, it's something Tyrion said, but then it later kind of
Gets
at the
mentioned.
end with the argument. It was something that I noted. Tyrion said, "Oh well, if he did something that caused someone else to be removed from existence," but then later it was like, "Well, we've got to let Leon do what he's got to do." After learning that Pasha was going to be re-educated.
The reason I didn't fall with that though, because Tyrion didn't know about the whole education thing about with the blood magic being. So I played out as like Tyrion not knowing that because he didn't know. He didn't know it was her.
Yeah.
So
basically, I think the difference between what Tyrion and what Darethim did is that when Pasha was talking, and it's a little bit of metagaming, but Darethim also has an empathy focus. So I think he picked up that it was something personal to Pasha. It was either her or someone she cared about, basically something related to her. She specifically was not liking Leon doing something, knowing about her.
And
he didn't know what
I knew nothing. I don't have empathy. I'm a naive doctor. So and I think the way of how it's set up, we can talk about it later because that's going to come up later with that argument. But we'll talk about when, because that was a pretty hectic, insane argument. So we'll get back.
It was interesting because Darethim at the start was trying to basically say, "Pasha, I'm on your side now." But then when that whole thing started, he realized, I'm not going to get into this because
whose side are you really on? Is because
that's honestly the reason that Russo left when they had their whole argument about it, was he saw it as like both sides are basically just trying to guilt each other into saying the other's right.
Yeah.
It's just like how Darethim said to Pasha at that point. I think you are right, but Tyrion has a point.
We will get back to it when we get to the point in the vlog,
Anyway.
like in terms of organization. So there was that. Then there was
What was next?
I had a
Russo and I think.
Russo.
Talking about the rules.
Yeah, and then I mean that's just standard fare.
Yeah.
I feel like it shows how Russo and Leon have like changed relationship wise.
Yeah, me as a player, I thought those were really generous terms that Russo gave. Yeah, those were surprisingly generous terms.
Oh, Russo will be generous till Leon crosses him on it, and now that we know you're an old god, they won't be so generous.
Yeah, I had tried to play Leon off as, trying to conciliatory and, trying to lay all the cards on the table, but there's one card I didn't have.
Which one was that?
Being an old god.
Oh, right. Well, that's what you didn't know about.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Short. I think Leon and Pasha was next, maybe?
Yeah.
No, it was.
Oh.
Then was Derek and Durham, but we'll ignore it because we're talking
right.
Then
we talked about that.
Tyrion,
So.
that was Tyrion and Russo. I just went there because to tell him Russo essentially the stuff that I told to Pasha sort of just to him.
Yeah.
Nothing much really. It was just me saying, look, because I know me and Russo talked about it a bit, as players that could happen in conversation, but I think it was not really necessary, but also at the same time sort of brings up some stuff.
Yeah, I felt like that scene played about how it needed to. Mm-hmm. When I met up with Sam for our private RP scene, she was asking me how do you see Russo being for the last half of the campaign? I was like, Russo sees himself as not being a silent backbone anymore and being way more outspoken, and I think that's really starting to show in how he's throwing hard lines on everything now.
Yeah. I have to say, in general, I love how everyone is developing in the back half of the game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's really cool to see.
I like that we can have ideological differences in our characters that lead to these huge arguments. Yeah,
and it's
the kind of RP PvP that works and makes sense and is enjoyable to partake in, rather than ones that are just this feels icky kind of thing. At least for me.
Oh, sort of leading into the conversation with Pasha, I enjoyed the foreshadowing that went on, not expecting it to be so foreshadowing.
What foreshadowing? Sorry, what foreshadowing?
Oh, we were talking about what relentlessness, what can you not say no to? What will you choose? And then grains of sand floating away, being unable to hold on to things. And Leon was still trying to find ways out until, the decision. And,
I like little information with the Pasha's names.
Yeah, I love Enough is Enough. That probably is what I'm going to be calling the final part. When Leon goes crazy. When Leon goes crazy, I'm going to probably call that Enough is Enough.
Enough is enough, yeah. That
Actually, if you want to do a little thing earlier in the part, in part 1 or something, you could say the Kunlat version of that phrase. And say it in English.
I like that too.
Part.
That would be really cool. I like that too.
Just ask Callisto, she might know how she tells you what the actual sentence was again.
Callisto, you're our resident CUNY expert, so...
I love the
title proudly.
Perfect amount of research, Callista. 10 out of 10.
Yeah,
oh my
seriously.
Goodness.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. So Pasha originally wasn't going to be called Pasha. She was going to be called Cat, as in Kato, which means stop. But then I thought, nah, that's easier to translate. I'll go for Pasha from Pashara.
I like Pasha more. Yeah.
Yeah, Pasha.
Oh man! So this gem was hidden in your back pocket for half a year.
That's nice. I love
that.
Waiting.
I've been when can I? I will give it to you.
It was perfect.
Yes. Oh man!
Kirkwall. Then we came to Kirkwall, the city of
Change. Kirkwall. Oh boy.
Does anyone have any about the last minute wrap up RP at the circus before we went to Kirkwall?
Sure.
I found Pasha's chat with Violetta unearthly fascinating.
Yeah.
In what way?
It showed that Pasha's starting to accept things outside of her comfort zone, because she was ready to go in there and be like, no, Russo's my son, don't break his heart. And Violetta was pretty much like, I've lived my whole life being a medium point. I get you, but I kind of need this. And it was interesting to see Pasha almost kind of dumbfounded, where she couldn't really just brute force her way morally.
Mm-hmm. I think that Violetta made some very fair observations about Pasha as well, and made some very fair points about, because I thought it was interesting for someone like Pasha, who normally is so forward about what she's thinking, like she has difficulty expressing these things, understandably so, but I thought that was a really interesting part of their conversation.
I think Pasha, she kind of had this image of Viola. Oh well, look at her. Look at, oh, she's so beautiful,
right.
So she's probably quite vapid, and oh, she's got this weird carriage hands. Oh, so she's probably
right.
weird.
A lot of preconceptions, yeah.
And then she spoke to her, and she's like, "Oh no, this girl is actually." I say girl. She's almost Pasha's age. This lady is very wise, and she's speaking things that make sense, even if they're not coming from a Kunari. They make a lot of sense, and there is worth in that. And I shouldn't maybe punch her in the face. I'll just okay, good job, and leave.
No, I love that. I love that. I immediately started getting, some Pashaletta vibes, actually. Pashaletta.
I'm sorry, Russo, but I've got to do this. I'm taking your girl.
We'll just do a social experiment where we throw Pasha, Violetta, and Darren in a room and just see what happens. Stick her in a room.
Gosh, Pasha takes
Let's Marvin Gaye and get it on.
All up guys are just
Pasha's really all at her feet the whole time.
Yeah. Pasha the woman.
Meanwhile, the guys are just sitting outside, just going like, "Yeah, we're
screwed." Pasha's the womanizer. Damn it! Like she's getting all of them.
Womanizer. Collecting them all.
You're all just kind of sat there, and then you hear this, like yoo-hoo, and it's Tumble, just like I'm still
yeah,
available. Get the stones. You're safe.
All right. Oh, and Balin's goodbye with
It got very borderline weird for a moment there, but then we were able to draw it back. So.
Just waiting for Russo to be like Balin, and then mirror, and then see something he may not want to, like either like,
oh god, I'm going over there right now, just dragons over
there. Yeah. We're going now.
Anyway,
I can't take full credit for the name of Balin's hammer, because one of the commenters back in session 8 part 1 commented, Aeon Reed, I think was is how you pronounce his name, but Aeon Reed commented, "Objection will not be overruled." And I was like, overruled? That's a great name for basically Objection Junior. Objection Junior could be overruled. And so thank you, Aeon Reed, for that.
Thank you, Aeon.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow, you've earned it.
It makes so much sense. Because that's like, objection, son. No, overruled.
Overruled.
Sustained.
That's a third.
That's
hey,
the next kid.
adopt another kid, and they'll be
That's
sustained.
Violetta.
Violet is sustained.
For a fan.
That'll be so cute. Little family hammers.
Yeah, I was not ready for Bela to be like, Violetta said you were really, really, really good last night.
Take that as a compliment. Violet apparently has had many lovers through her life, so take that as a
Yeah. You're great. All
right. Let's keep
Kirkwall.
going. Kirkwall.
So Gamlin. I didn't expect to see Gamlin.
My guess was 100% off from who I thought Dark Oak
Yeah.
was.
Who did you think it was?
I had finished reading to Winter Nights around like session 12.
Mm-hmm.
And I had it deep. I figured this was a good possibility of misdirection, but I couldn't really guess anything else because I haven't played the other games either. So I deep down was like, it's probably Ambrose because he has the same last name as American. And then like there was an excerpt in his story where it talked about how he often went to Kirkwall for like exotic materials for his wigs and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that character right there, like, oof, gives me the shakes because he's no, he's bad juju. Yeah, I actually thought about using that character in this campaign, but at least up to this point, I did not think of a good place for him. I was thinking that the red herring was going to be Amarin, because a lot of you were thinking that Amarin was Dark Oak.
No, I was gonna say it could have been like his brother, maybe. Who might be the weak character, and Amarin could have been like.
I chose Gamlen just because I actually referenced Gamlen as well back in season 1. So I established that he was a character because if you remember, Lealden breaks into Gamlen's house, I believe, because he needed to.
Because Gamlen had moved in after his parents died.
Correct. Gamlen moved in to his house after his parents died, so he moved in to acquire something under the floorboards. And so I figured it would be really interesting if I pulled Gamlen in as well, especially because of his relationship to the Hawks in Dragon Age Season 2. I thought, and plus, like, I was trying to figure out, what could possibly Dark Oak mean, and I was thinking, okay, I think I can work with that.
Yeah, the Gamlen. So,
I was just gonna say, can I give, because I also very, very incorrect on who I thought Dark Oak was going to be. I was putting my money on Dark Oak either being the guy with the mouse that Tyrion interacted with, or I was putting money on Madame Vu.
I can see that too.
Multiple campaigns, and I was like, is this our connection to Harry Potter? She's going to be like, I've got a book that lets you... Well, it's counterpart to...
She might still be around. Who knows? She might pop out still, but...
Who knows?
Yeah, we were wrong on that one.
Right.
I did like the tree scene that you had.
You did like what?
The tree scene?
Yeah.
Yes, I like that too.
Yeah, both the scenes with the death and the tree.
It's like deja vu all over again.
For me,
Go ahead.
For Russo, those two scenes with the square and the tree was like, I'm hurt, but I don't want to hold anyone else up because of my problems. Like, that's another thing Russo struggled with, is he hasn't really talked to anyone because he views everything he's dealt with, even kind of the scaled one bit, as almost insignificant versus what everyone else is doing. So he's just been burying it down, and the only real, like... The only confessional that he's had has been when he basically told Pasha the story of how he got Balin. And then that's been it. And then everyone else, it's kind of like, they don't really care. They kind of told me to get over being a scaled one, so just let me deal with this my way, and then I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then at least from Darethan's perspective, it's interesting because at this point, he's, in terms of the blame he has for himself, we'll talk about the other blame later, but the blame he has for himself, he's mostly over it. He's mostly accepted that part of himself and not moved on, but started to move on. So it was little acts of penance, little acts of trying to just be there, not really to console, just to acknowledge what he did. And just like, it was almost a little sense of almost closure for him, just to be able to like say, yeah, I see this. It's even more proof, but that wasn't me. Kind of thing. So yeah. Plus Darren helps. Just
Yeah, my thought with the tree was Maximilian, as I said, when he was Viscount, he brought in a good amount of changes, and I'd like to believe mostly for the good for the city. I think though it's just he didn't necessarily prioritize, rebuilding the alienage as much. I'm sure that he, was sympathetic enough to the elves that he gave them some aid, but I think there were other things that was more on his radar that he needed to attend to.
Yeah.
It was like maybe the thing of he was giving equal aid to most places. The problem was
Right.
the alienage needed far more aid.
Right. And again, like Maximilian went into this really having zero experience in politics. Like, he's not a politician, and he said that he didn't even want the job initially because he didn't think he was fit for it. And so, I think that that's good and bad. And so the bad is things like the alienage might have fallen through the cracks. Now that Cerberus has been put into ruling, I think he's done a slightly better job than Maximilian with the alienage. And so I envision that sapling kind of became a thing more around when Cerberus became the leader.
I must be relentless.
No, the argument. Yeah, I must realize. Yeah, with him like opening it.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I liked how Russo is tactfully accepting by saying, "Hey, let's get a tour of the house," which then I think this is me extrapolating from, but please do let me know if I'm wrong. I think Pasha felt a little bit alienated because she's left in a room full of people saying, "Yes, blood magic," and she's the only one stuck to her morals saying, "Under no circumstances." And
yeah, was there a reason why Russo didn't include Pasha in the tour with them?
This is kind of cruddy on Russo's part, and he almost had this chat with Pasha, but the blow up afterwards happened with how he's basically ready to have the chat with the Cune about Pasha, and him taking Gamlin and Nathan away was like, this is where we're at. The time for resolutes and absolutes is over. See this, and then we're going to know where everyone stands. Russo was using that as to basically force the issue up.
Which I think worked.
Which
Certainly.
Definitely was put into a corner. Put into a corner, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because Dartham, like just from his perspective, has very much been the kind of conciliator, being like the person who see every side. But he is kind of the opinion that if you know for a fact that what you do is going to kill someone, and there is, like he said, we could go to Amron, there's the possibility of another option. He says that, and like I'll even say the confessional, as soon as Leon opens the box, I have one. It's just simply, "Oh, Leon, you could have just waited." That's it.
No, Leon has too much trust in his parents. He believes that there's a reason this is here, and thus it must be obtained now. He does have too much trust in his parents. And he had tried to, open the box without blood magic. There's consequences. I love that you gave me a very harsh consequence.
I do even like on your relentless. You stopped me from continuing. Tyrion was trying to like convince you like out of the box, but you was like, "No, I must be relentless," and you did it. And
yes,
like that you didn't listen to me. It's like, yep, good job on you.
Yeah, I hope you didn't mind, but
no, it's like it's fine. It fits. Like you said, I must be relentless, and you still did the blood mares. Like shit.
That amazing character choice, Sam. That was absolutely amazing.
Because Leon was very wishy-washy about the whole thing, and until this point, he hadn't made a hard decision. He's still like, I could be both. I have no consequences, and he looked at Pasha and stabbed.
So now that we've made the choice, Hark, I have a question. Had we never opened this box and never discovered everything that entailed inside, would it have been possible to defeat, not necessarily kill, but defeat the Magisters without this?
Can I object that and say, let's not learn that. Keep it secret. we should not learn that information, because otherwise it's just we're going to learn everything about the game after that. It's like we're going to see the behind the movie when we haven't even finished the movie. So
yeah, ask me that later. Ask me that later, maybe near the end.
yeah, and I'm saying that from my experiences, I did a mistake. Someone kind of asked me, and I said the answer, and it didn't really end well for the players, because now they were like, "Oh, well, there goes the magic of the game." So yeah, keep stuff secret.
Very fair.
How's Pasha thinking through that scene? Because after that, she would blow up with Tyrion.
I think Pasha, I don't know what it is. Pasha can't be mad at Leon. And I don't know why, because it's not like I go into these scenes like, yeah, I'm going to rip him to pieces. And then I'm just like, no, look at his little face. Oh, give him some cookies. I don't know why. But Pasha just can't be angry at Leon. And I think part of that is because he seems very remorseful, and he seems very like, I didn't know that this was going to happen to you, and I'm sorry about that, and I am going to keep doing this, but I am at the very least upset about it. He shows concern for her safety, I think. And that's kind of why she's like when he looked at her and turned the key, and then he went down and he was like, well, I've got to try again with the blood magic. It'll sound weird. I don't think Pasha is upset with Leon for being a blood mage. She doesn't like the blood magic. She'd much prefer it if he didn't do that. But oddly enough, I don't think she's upset at him for being a blood mage. I think she's upset with Detham and Tyrion for kind of okaying that, like, oh yeah, this is perfectly fine. I think she is way more upset at Detham and Tyrion than she is at Leon.
Yeah, and that's understandable. Totally understandable why she's upset.
Like I said, it's just not how I saw her going. I saw her being like, we've got to kill him. We've got to slit his throat. We've got to sew up his mouth. We've got to do this X, Y, and Z. And instead, she's very much like, Leon, it's okay. Tyrion and Detham, how fucking could you? And I'm like, why? Why are you doing this?
I enjoy the dynamic between Pasha and Leon, because before he made this hard decision, Leon is coming to terms with what this means for someone he cares about, and it tears him up. And then after this conversation with Pasha of learning when enough is enough, logically it should have gone the other way, like, oh, this is enough because it's killing someone. No, it went the total opposite of way of verifying his convictions of this is not enough.
Mm-hmm.
So
this also reminds me now when Calista was talking about how Pasha interacts with Leon, is that she said something before about how the heart doesn't always agree with the mind, or something along those lines, and that's what I
think
immediately
that was the
thought.
scene at the tree after Russo found out he was a skilled one, like the heart and scripture aren't one in the same.
One in the same, or something along those lines. And also, this reminds me of Delwyn a lot, because when Delwyn explains blood magic and his use of blood magic is any consequences that result from him using blood magic, he 100% takes responsibility. Like, every time he casts it, he says, when I cast blood magic, the only person that is getting hurt is myself. Mm-hmm. And that was, like, very important with him. Now, sometimes it hurts somebody else inadvertently, like without him intending on it. But that is intentionally, like, his feelings. And I can't help but feel like with Leon, he very much feels the same way, but it very clearly affects Pasha in a very negative way. So,
yeah.
Delwyn, I think, developed enough experience and morals to say the line is other people. Like, maybe Delvin would even been okay with someone volunteering to be pain, but he has to know this is consensual. This is a thing everybody knows about, and we're doing it the proper way. With Leon, it could just be because of the inexperience, the age thing, the parent thing, a lot of different reasons that just makes that line blurry enough that he says, this is the line except for these few times. And that's a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
I like the way that Pasha's character is set up as the hard backbone for a lot of these decisions. Like, it would have been easy if, someone was like, oh, it's okay, but I really like how Callista is.
do.
There's one character in the party who, there's two, or like one in the player party who disagrees with it and stays by it, and that brings.
Well, not only that, NPCs too.
Yeah, no,
Like,
NPCs also. Like,
the
I'm not forgetting
NPCs
them.
have very diverse. Like, Nathan was very adamant about how much he disliked it, and Darren was more, trying to be more diplomatic about it. And so, yeah, no, I like that it does matter who you choose to bring with you to these, because even if there isn't any combat, just their opinions and their belief systems, I think, really influences these scenes when they weigh in.
And Nathan had to eventually know that this was going on, and it was going to blow up. Persuaded him.
I'm very curious, like, how things would have played differently if Rosie was here, if Rosie was witnessing everything with Leon. I'm wondering how she would process all this.
I'm not even gonna imagine.
To Sam, would Rosie being there have changed anything?
That's a good question.
I think that at the point in his character development, he'd look at Rosie and Pasha, but the decision overall would probably be the same because he needs to make his conviction. But I think that the blow up at the end of the magic blow up, maybe it would have gone differently. But I think it may have just scared Rosie and caused bad end.
Yeah.
Especially when you start going like, Dark Phoenix on everybody. I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oof.
That would be really interesting, like, Jean Grey versus Xavier, Rosie versus Leon. That would be a really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like gonna be Jean Grey.
Yes, which one? But the question is, which one is Jean Grey and which one's really?
Anyway.
All right then, and then the argument. So I'd say let's Ethan take it away, because I had a note, but
I actually was considering not even saying anything as Tyrion. Like, I was like, I'm not even considering, but I was like, no, if she's shouting us out, Tyrion is going to. I think, I'll be honest. He doesn't know if what he's saying is either right or wrong, because he is talking from his experience, and he because of his naivety, it caught up. It is catching up.
I think from Pasha's point of view, because Pasha, she was gonna bring it up if someone else brought it up, and Gatham came and spoke to her. At which point she was like, "You said that this is what you do, and I'm telling you now, this is gonna have the existence I was talking about was my existence." And because she did, like, she didn't say re-education. Russo did, but she didn't say re-education, and she didn't say that what re-education entailed. But I think in her mind, stating that my body will continue, but my brain, the essence of what makes me will be taken away from me. I think in her mind, that's like enough information.
What Tyrion tried to say, because he got affected, his body is fine when he got out, but his mind didn't. It did not survive the horror of Amarin. Like, And I think that's sort of what he didn't say and hadn't brought up. And I think that was a mistake on his side, and also as me as a player. I think that was just what it is. Was not mentioning. I did not survive my master after all those years, and I think not mentioning that really brought that argument to the point where it was, yeah, pretty much we're guilty. We're doing the whole guilt to each other. Like I'm right.
No one is right. It's
Yeah.
just slinging mud, and there's really not going to be a positive conclusion. Like, no one's going to shake hands afterwards and be like, productive argument. It just got to the place where it's like,
but I think what after the whole soul stuff happened, like reveal, I think Tyrion will go up to Pasha at some point, probably next session, to be honest, or before Tevinter, and he's gonna say, look, and he's gonna apologize to. That is what he's gonna do, because he knows what he said was rude, and he knows what he said is wrong, and as his honesty, he does care for Pasha. Health-wise, he does. He cares for everyone in the party, as he says. The difference is, I think the problem for him is he has his morals coming up to him, and it's blocking his mind, his view.
Can I just, a line I love, a line I loved when you said, are you a human or are you a tool? And Pasha says, I'm a Kunari.
Yeah, but that makes sense, because it's a good line on Tyrion's side, because he knows the difference between a human and a tool, because he experienced it as a tool.
And interestingly, the Kunari is seemingly almost a willing tool. Like it is both a human and a tool.
Yeah.
So in some ways, it is offensive to Pasha to call her a tool, which is obviously what he was implying, because that says she didn't have a choice in deciding whether she wanted to be a tool. She very much has a choice. And even Daretham, when he hears that she would go back for her children, like, Daretham at this point, like, he has people. He has Rousseau, he has Tyrion, he has Pasha, he has Darren, he has the rest of the people. And he has the Awakened. He has his thing to live now. He has a life beyond this group. So if it comes to the point where Pasha just decide at the end, like, she's going to go off, she's going to get re-educated, and it doesn't really matter what anyone else does, Daretham will just mourn her as he would anyone who died. And he would say, I wish you had chosen differently, but I'm not going to stop you because you can choose that. And it would be a very sad end, but one he would accept, because it would be Pasha's choice for an ending. And he'd be able to move on to new people.
And I think as I will say, with the apology, I think Theron will just will have that idea of, like, what I did, as what Tyrion did in this session, like against the Pasha, he was being rude, but rude to the point where he was trying to use his own logic, what he believes, and
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say he's naive. It's his naivety that got in the way. It's his naivety because of what he believes. Go ahead.
I think what... Oh, excuse me, I was very loud then. What offended Pasha the most, it wasn't necessarily even the line of, like, oh, I know what you're going through. I know what you'll have to face. It was the implication, because Tyrion ran away from his master. And it's the implication, are you saying I ran away from the Qun? Because she didn't. She got to kind of go and venture out. And it's just that, this is the consequence of my action. Once I go back, I'll have to be re-educated. And because of Leon, I'll have to be re-educated super hard.
Yeah.
Fucking Leon dancing.
And
how dare you?
I think after it's essentially two people who they're different in certain senses, but there is some similarities.
Well, this goes back to what Dom said for Daretham and how he views both Pasha and Tyrion. He sees them both as zealots, just on the opposite ends of the spectrum. Like, Tyrion's so much like freedom of expression, freedom of will, to where it kind of blinds him to, like, most things outside of that. Meanwhile, Pasha has had nothing but finite rules and everything around her that's dictated that.
it's essentially the book versus emptiness, sort of.
Yeah, pretty much.
And yeah, and
Like for Daretham, at the end of the day, when his argument to Pasha to say why should you not go back, he would say, I think you have to decide how much that feeling of being free, that feeling of flying is important to you, how much Athon is important to you, how much your life around here is important to you compared to your children. And if your children win, I don't blame you. Like, Ceres was my one life goal. So I don't blame you if you pick your children. I also don't blame you if you pick this because you've never known another life. And to be quite frank, there will be another Tamazran for those children.
yeah,
The Kyun
And-
will make another one. So it's that would be his thing. Now that you know both, you can properly choose. My work is done. I have no say in this anymore. You pick which life you want, and I will support you either way you go. Either way you do it, even if it means your effective death. Whereas Tyrion, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, I think after, like, if there is some critical thinking he will do to himself, he will think to himself, like, because it would be actually cool if Pasha said this. I don't know if she did. What if my children were my patients? They were in the same situation as me. And because he's gonna critically think, like, all right, if I am in Pasha's position and those children were my patients that I had to take care of and they were important, what would I do?
I have this sudden vision of Pasha, Violetta, and Rousseau going to all these orphanages together and like picking out children to adopt. Because one can also make an argument that there's a lot of children out there who don't have Tamazrans or parents
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
could use a good home. Just putting it out there. But
You
Like,
become your own special
we-
Tamazran.
we will see. As I said,
I will say Russo will definitely talk to Pasha about the Kyun now that this blow-up's happened. Especially considering that Russo basically didn't really contribute to that conversation other than I find you both despicable right now.
in that moment, yeah.
Yeah.
And as I said, that's why I want to apologize, because it's Tyrion. I think after some time would see, like, no, this was not the right way.
Yeah. Pretty much how Russo saw that and why he called Pasha and Tyrion out at the same time was, okay, what Pasha's saying is true. At the same time, it's kind of stupid to expect everyone to be knowledgeable on the Kyun and what it will do to you just because they've seen something. So at that point, it's like, I'm guilting you on imaginary premises that you had no real context of.
fair.
It is very fair.
Yeah, like for Daretham, the only reason Daretham was on Pasha's level was because he had the empathy focus. He was empathetic enough to realize, not specifically, but the general implications of what she was saying. If he didn't have that focus, if he wasn't empathetic, then he would be in the same boat as Tyrion. So
I do like how Rousseau is being much more curt and direct and just, because, earlier, the first half, he was very supportive. He was, like the silent backbone, as he said before. But now he's more in your face, and it's leading to a better dynamic because it's, calling people out on their shit. So, yeah.
It's almost as if he was a judge in a courtroom, demanding order in a courtroom.
Yeah.
My goodness, between two different sides.
And then he left because he didn't want to be in the mud flinging.
Everyone's being contempt of the court fees.
So, yeah.
I also love that. I think maybe it's just me, but I feel like the two characters who have blossomed the most in very different ways are Rousseau and Leon. And I think it's interesting how Leon spent a long time whiffling and has now picked a path that was definitely the more darker path, which I love. But Rousseau has pretty much, I see Rousseau as the leader of this party. Like, I very much think, maybe not in every way, he is the primary person I think everyone looks to be like, settle arguments and deal with conflict.
That
I
goes
think-
back to what Violetta said of how Ruth
Yeah.
was the middle.
She's the anchor.
The anchor.
He's the anchor.
And the two people who really haven't changed much in this group, to be honest, is probably Pasha and Tyrion. Because their views are still the same. I mean, yes, Pasha's like goals complete, but Tyrion's still going to go after his master no matter what. And he's going to do what he believes is best.
Your character progression is affirmation instead of change, which
Yeah.
is excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It leads to better dynamics, and you are both very opposed in this specific scenario,
Mhm.
which is great.
Yeah.
3 characters growing, 2 characters refusing to grow or being told they don't need to.
Mhm.
Which is also character progression in a
Which is
different.
also character
It is
progression.
also
Yeah.
character
Its own
progression,
way,
yes.
Yeah.
and yeah, we'll see. And I will, yeah. As I said, the argument. I as a player didn't want to do the argument. Like I didn't want to speak and say that. But I was like, as Tyrion was like, no, he's gonna have to do it
Yeah.
because he believes too much.
You have to have a makeup session now. Some more drama.
Actually, real quick, just to say, everyone was cool with what happened this session. There was no like boundaries crossed or anything.
No.
Yeah.
Just
I'm happy.
double checking. But yeah.
I mean, we're pretty
Like,
good
especially-
about being like, we do what's natural for the character and
Yeah.
letting that sit.
I mean, Pasha's
We
fine.
were
Is
all
like,
fucking grinning, but I just
Yeah.
wanted to check just in case.
as long as like Callista's fine with what the Tyrion said.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. 1 second.
That's gonna be in our private.
I wanted to also talk about just the soul of the old god. So, as for those of you who played the game, you know what this is alluding to. This is alluding to the dark ritual that Morgan
Morgan
could do,
Yeah.
and how the soul of an old god could end up in her child, or in this case, Kieran, because you meet Kieran in Dragon Age Inquisition. And I have to admit that when I played the first game, I was actually very surprised by Kieran, because I was envisioning, I mean, everybody had their theories about what this child would be like, but I was envisioning like this really super powerful, like prodigy of a wizard child who had like these godlike abilities.
Mhm.
But he was just a really like
A kid.
normal kid, like a really chill, normal child. And I think part of that is because the writers have said that it was very important for them to show that for someone like Morrigan, it's supposed to be kind of a surprise that Morrigan's child, from what you know of Morrigan, is just a really like normal, innocent kid.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't help but feel like I saw a lot of Kieran in Leon. And that's where like the gears started turning, and I was like, all right, like what is Leon's like link to all of this, like to this main plot? And I was like, well, what if we sort of played on this whole idea of Uthumiel, the old god, and Kieran, because in this continuity,
Kieran's not a thing.
Kieran never became a thing.
Yeah, because
And-
Morgan was consumed by
Right.
Thomas.
Morgan was killed in this continuity,
Mhm.
and so I thought, well, I thought it'd be really interesting to take that plot point and just turn it around and use it for this instead. And I thought that was I thought that'd be really interesting.
Ooh, the heroes of Freldon are not going to be happy when they hear that their work was all for naught.
Delvin's
Yeah.
gonna be pissed.
Yes.
You learn what really happened back in the finale of
Season
season
one.
one.
So I
What
think
really
like a
happened.
group of players, we can all finally come to the finite conclusion. Leon's parents were kind of evil.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
They were fucking awful, man.
Like, there's an argument to be made about saving their son with Olga, but being like, oh, well, the warden was gonna die anyway, so
Yeah, the warden was gonna die anyway.
Yeah, you know,
There's,
yeah.
yeah. I don't,
Murdered a Templar with blood magic. I don't care what you say, Leon. They murdered a Templar with blood magic. Granted, self-defense, but even still.
Not even so.
I mean, I have to like. I know that this is probably not what Pasha meant, but I have to reiterate. As a father myself who has a 1-year-old child, Pasha was like, I would go to hell and back for my kids.
Mhm.
And I think you will find that a very good number of parents, especially if they literally like their 1-year-old
Oh,
just
yeah.
died, and if they saw any opportunity to
They will
bring their
take it.
child back,
They'll take it.
yeah, I'll kill somebody who was gonna die anyway. Who already volunteered to die anyway. Like that would be very many of them would say that.
Yeah, their actions were just damn, but
they didn't have to kill Sepia, if I'm remembering your name right.
They didn't have to do it.
Yeah, they didn't have to kill her. They only had to do the ritual to save Leon's body, essentially. Killing Warden was board. It was a cover up.
Right, a cover up. They didn't want anyone to be suspicious and
I
find
think
Leon.
I think the big thing with the parents.
Sanaya, that was her name.
Yeah, Sanaya.
Sanaya.
I think the biggest thing with Clara and David is, I think they are good people. I think they have good intentions. I think they really love Leon, and I think in every way they did everything right, except they took it one step too far and were just a little bit too shady with it.
With them, when it comes to family, there is no line that they do not cross. That line doesn't exist for them, and so which I think is realistic.
Their son.
Yeah,
it's very realistic.
It's realistic. Like, we've had parenthood depicted pretty heavily in this campaign, and most every character who's a parent or parent off to the side is expressed the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even Daretham, as an older brother to Ceres, he tortured children for his master pleasure.
For his master, to protect his family.
Ceres wouldn't die. So.
Yeah. The other implication, this was very subtle, but I don't know if we're gonna if you're gonna fin this out like in normal roleplay. But I made the implication that ritual that they used was written was a very new entry in Pyrrhus, and as you can see, it's not the exact same ritual as what happened with Morrigan, for whatever reason I still don't understand. She needs to sleep with a Grey Warden in order for it to take effect for whatever reason, I don't know. But they had to alter it a little bit, so it was a risk. They were taking a big risk by doing the ritual, and it's worked out. But the implication was, so his parents were archaeologists along with Rousseau's mom, and one of the things that they found during their archaeology is they did find Flemeth's grimoire. So that entry is taken directly from Flemeth's grimoire. Now, I'm not going to say what ended up happening to Flemeth's grimoire. Maybe it was in the house that Leon burnt down. I don't know. Well, I do know, but I'm not going to say. But you don't know. But yeah, that is where that ritual came from. Was directly from Flemeth's grimoire.
Got it.
So let's now go to the hotel area where where we had to fight.
Yeah.
That got intense quick.
Do you want me to just go through what was going through Daretham's head real quick? I guess, what does everyone think was going through his head? I feel like it was pretty obvious.
There is the revival of the soul that my master served under. And also partially controlled me.
Honestly, what I saw happening with Daretham was what I saw happen with Rousseau in Session 8. That's how I see it, was Daretham lost it because the thing that ruined everything for me for over 1,000 years right in front of me.
I didn't even see it. Yeah.
That's exactly it. Specifically, here's his logic. And I'll actually make a confessional that's just him in the trees. I'm not going to make it right when he is at the door, because I've already kind of said what he was feeling. But out on the trees, I helped her. I helped my slaver. That is the thing that ticked him off. He saw this person, and he does not think of Leon as Leon anymore. Leon is Arthemiel, Leon is a she, and Leon is a bitch. And it is going to take a lot for him to trust Leon ever again. And I'm being completely honest in that, and I was actually thinking about it, would he condemn Leon in any way? And I would say, yeah, he's going to go up to Leon and go to Pasha and just say, hey, since you did this, I'm going to tell Cedric about your blood magic. And I want you to know that before I do it, but it's going to happen because you need to face your consequences.
I guess a little add-on to that too was Russo in his letter to Cedric was like, we need to talk about Leon, which Hart can confirm.
Yeah. And Daretham would have just, and what he said to Pasha, like he was going to do that before the whole Old God stuff happened. But then because I was hearing all this Old God stuff, you can see it on my face as I'm hearing all of this. I'm realizing it, and then eventually I realized, oh shit, this is one of the 5 people that was part of Daretham's whole killing spree. In fact, this specific person is the thing that caused Rousseau's mother's death, caused that tree to burn down, and that was fresh in his head. So it was very much a thing of, there is a monster in front of me that I have to kill.
Yeah.
This is the thing that I am hunting.
And I think it makes sense, because in his mind, the Archdemon and Uthumiel are inseparable in his mind.
Yeah, they're the
To
same.
him, they're the same thing. When technically, as I said earlier, technically the Archdemon and Uthumiel are technically two different things.
And the thing that he kind of he knows that logically, but he also says, well, if that were the case, then why the hell did the Archdemon, did the Old Gods allegedly tell the Magisters to go into the Fade and wreak the Golden City? Why did they then allow all of this slavery and shit to happen? Basically, he says the Old Gods were never the good guys, and the Archdemons just compounded that fact. At least for Dareth.
According to lore, the Old Gods are beings that like entered the Fade and became like the dragon forms that they are.
Yeah.
So they were never really like at the same level as like Andraste and the other gods in Dragon Age, because they were fallible people that were just changed.
I mean, Dareth doesn't know specifics, but yeah, in his mind, Urthemiel the Archdemon and Urthemiel the Old God are the same person. Which means Leon is the person who forced Daretham to kill Lyra.
How does Daretham feel about what you learned last time, which is that the dragonflies, the powers that you guys have been using this entire time, came from the Old Gods? How is that different?
It's partly because I, as a player, didn't realize it at the time, but but also thinking on it, that is a little more muffled in the specific on like,
right,
is this the soul or is this the thing? Daretham, when he hears that, his brain has to register it as this is the power. This is like the essence of the Old God. This is not the personality. This is not the soul. If I had the soul of an Old God, then in his opinion, he wouldn't be doing this. He'd be go off enslaving people, going off murder sprees. Like, he has a very bad opinion of the Old God. So he doesn't himself, granted, he did that. So, but he doesn't see himself as that evil. So he thinks, no, this must be just the essence. This must be the power. In fact, he almost is happy about it because he thinks, I am stealing this power away from a being who does not deserve it.
Is that also why he was very, very much against the Awakened, because they're led by the Architect, who is a worshipper of Uthumiel?
I don't think he actually made the connection between the Architect and the Magister Sidereal, because the Architect only ever called himself the Architect, never really talked at all about it. He looked so different that he just never made the connection in his head, which is why it was kind of a more reveal to him in that session. But yeah, that's pretty much his whole shtick.
Okay.
I just, as the player, realized, oh, this is a chance for me to be Rousseau, and it would totally happen. And like I very much based Daretham on myself. So when the trees happened, I as a person, I'm not a person who calms down. I need to just scream and vent. So that's what Daretham did. He just went off and.
So that goes to my follow-up question, and I think you've already answered it before I could ask it. You don't think he would have done like Russo, or Russo basically became smarter in the situation and talked himself down? He just would have outright killed Leon?
I don't know if he would have killed Leon. I don't think he would have. I do think he would have hurt Leon. Definitely.
That's
If put into enough of a rage, I think he could actually in that moment kill Leon. But I think he had enough presence of mind. His willpower has been increasing because of his whole addiction stuff. He had enough presence of mind to say, no, this could be Leon. We need to investigate this further, but this is still a fucking...
At the same time, Daretham knows from the offset that he's pursuing a lethal option towards Leon. Like, hitting him with your claws, just because the cure works for you doesn't mean it stops the old god soul from becoming non-tainted again.
Yeah. In fact, I actually thought in my head, there was a brief moment when Daretham considered, if I infect Leon, that means he turns into an archdemon, which means I get to kill him. And in that moment, he wanted to do it because he says, that is justification to kill the old god. And that's all I've wanted to do. So it's a good thing you guys stopped him because...
I mean...
Yeah.
You can still do it.
But he's vented his rage enough that he is able to be rational enough right now.
I stopped there because I didn't know. Tyrion didn't know what the fuck was going on with this whole
exactly.
thing.
It totally makes sense.
Same as Pash was saying with Darren. That's the reason for the knockout was like just to calm both of you down because it was gonna go insane.
Yeah. Russo's whole time was like, I need to shut this down before it gets bad.
Yeah, Leon was
Pasha
until both Nathan and Rousseau started piling on him.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just got too much for his little mind, and
Russo didn't get to say the other part. He was about ready to say, I don't care, you're an old god, you need to be you, but that got lost where he was like, you are you, let's figure this out. And then Leon was basically just overreacting to the influx of information.
100%, yeah.
The thing is, Daretham considered busting into the room, but he was in shock enough that if he had been given enough time, if he busted in, he would have not been as mean with that choke. He would have like pushed you against the wall and would have been growling, and you could have seen he was controlling himself. But since you walked out while he was still processing everything, he just attacked.
No,
that was a really good growl, by the way.
Yeah,
that was a top-notch growl.
Honestly, that's not my best growl. I was
still good. Still,
that's not my best.
Patrick, I have a question. Since now, because now me and you are the ones who just discovered this whole freaking shit. How does Pasha feel?
Oddly enough, I think it's kind of like, oh, he's an old, okay. Like, I don't think, that may be because she's not necessarily thinking through okay, what if he gets tainted? What if this happens? What if that happens? I think it's kind of like how she viewed Rousseau is in that kind of like, oh, you were originally a scaled one. Well, it doesn't really matter because you're this now. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing with like, oh, you used to be an old god. Well, it doesn't really matter because you're Leon.
Right. I like how you said, does this change anything? I like when you said that. Does this change anything?
Yeah.
I was just going to say that I liked when Skull and Pasha, even though they'd just been arguing, because they both went to Leon's defense.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. No. Oh, no. I saw that. I thought that was really interesting.
They instinctually protected their friend. And the thing is, from your perspective, I could have just gone feral for my dosage. Like, it wasn't even a thing where I could have attacked him willingly. Like, you saw I gone up, and I had already taken my dosage, but maybe it was getting late in the day. So it was enough that it totally made sense. And you just jumped to it, which is really, really cool, even though it all happened.
Yeah.
I was mildly amused several sessions ago when you guys, it might have been during a vlog, when you guys were guessing about this seal, because you found out that Amarian sealed something, and I think most of you were thinking that he sealed Leon somehow. The seal was on Leon. And I was like, no, the seal was not on Leon. The seal was on Pyrrhus. He sealed Pyrrhus, which I thought was... So I was in my head very amused.
That's its own can of worms to open up, and like when we meet with them, like at least
Oh yeah, we reveal something that was touched on back in session 1. Like, 'cause,
Yeah.
like, a bunch of you were asking about why is that kid named Tyrion
I will
back in
say,
session 1.
yeah, I will say from the series, I think most of us, I had this conversation with Calista not long ago about it could have been that maybe Tyrion was thrown to a time machinations and he was
Oh.
on the end. But I didn't expect it was like, no, your dad, every person in the first Elven family bloodline is Tyrion.
Was named Tyrion.
And now I'm like,
So now
what?
you great
Right.
Yeah.
great Papa Pyrus.
Yes.
Great Tyrion pirates.
So basically, Tyrion's
Tyrion.
name is now Tyrion Junior, 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 Junior,
Junior.
It's like Tyrion the
It would have
400.
been numbers, like the 400th, Tyrion the 400th or something.
And I'm gonna be honest, I want to know more why, like why this book now is
Yeah.
my grandpappy sort of.
Yeah.
Dude, we call Pyrus or Tyrus now.
And
Tyrus.
Or Tyrus.
What-
Tyrion, Tyrus.
Pyrian.
And there's gonna be possibly two possibilities. Yeah, I was gonna say there's gonna be two possibilities. One, either it's not gonna have much of an effect on Tyrion because it's like that's like long ago. Or two, he's gonna tell them, do not burn this book. Please do not burn this book.
'Cause it's
I
not-
will take it to my guy and I will not use it for blood mage purposes because I'm not a mage.
You were just talking about how slaves are tools, and Tyrion was a slave, and he literally became a actual tool for Cepheus.
Yeah.
So I was like,
Out of curiosity, Hark, was that kid that I enslaved that day this book? Or are we going to discover that later?
it wasn't the kid, it was the man.
The man, the father.
So because if it was the kid, this Tyrion would not have existed.
Mm-hmm.
Because
True.
that kid
That's right.
was able
Bloodline to go down.
that kid
Right.
needed to escape. He basically escaped what happened during the old gods
Yeah, yeah.
ritual.
Yeah, but then it was,
And then grew up to start this line of, well, apparently this line of elves that eventually become slaves in Tevinter anyway.
yeah, like
So history kind of repeated itself there. So
it's
you
like
need to break the cycle, Tyrion.
yeah.
It'll be really interesting because once Darethim hears that, because Darethim hasn't heard that, once he hears that,
He's gonna remember.
he's going to remember that man's face,
Mhm.
and he's going to go, oh.
Oh. Yeah, sorry about that.
My bad, bro.
Yeah, man.
That's going to be
My bad,
very...
It's not
bro.
going to end well. It's not going to end well for both
I
of
didn't
us.
know he was gonna
Especially
put me in
because-
the book.
If Tyrion's
Yeah.
there when he hears that, Tyrion is going to hear, I sold this man into slavery.
Slavery.
And you know how Tyrion's going to act on that.
In fact, not only that, I bought this man. And I
Mhm.
ripped this man away from his children.
His children.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it wasn't even used for the ritual to create the Archdeacons. It was for a
Apparent-
book.
It was for a book, apparently.
Yeah, it's... Oh!
Though, I was gonna say actually my thoughts on what Tyrion's gonna go on Leon, because of like what the soul hole stuff is gonna be now. Him being the fifth archdemon, pretty much in the soul. I don't think there's much change other than the fact that he's gonna keep a very much wary eye, and he's not gonna agree much with Leon on most points. He's gonna be sort of on the side of like, okay, I'm sympathetic to you, but I'm gonna assist you a lot since you now got this until we solve the issue of
So
This
can we
debate.
confirm the singing is the augur?
Yeah, that
Yes.
conversation between the augur and
Yes.
whoever she was talking. Whatever male voice was talking, she was talking.
I'm guessing Corypheus, but that's me.
So that was really just the Sidereals trying to attract
The others.
dragon. Good.
The Watchmen. Ooh, if it's the Watchmen and the Augurs, like with the Watchmen on their own game, that could be interesting.
Maybe.
Maybe, I don't know. I'm just spitballing something.
At any rate, you guys got a lot of I think the players got this beforehand, but now the actual characters realize that these Siderials, for whatever reason, were trying to destroy that book.
Yeah.
And now they're too late. So what does that mean?
I mean, I think it was last session where we said like, "Oh, Pyrus is the book." I think we guessed.
Yeah.
Like when we had the the journal from Cepheus.
Yeah.
It was like
Yeah.
the book. I was like, that is Pyrus. No if, ands,
That's
or
Pyrus. Narratively, that has to be Pyrus.
It was Pyrus.
Yeah, but well,
And now you know why they wanted to get rid of that book.
yeah, it was Tyrus all along.
So, yeah.
It wasn't because of a spell or a ritual within the book. It was because of a memory that
Yeah.
the book had. Yeah.
So, what does it mean that Ithumiel is awake now?
Yeah.
it means
Because-
you're aware of what you are.
Yeah, but what does that mean against the Sidereals?
Who knows?
Yeah.
Find that out.
Yeah, that's going to be fun.
I bet you it's going to be on the Chakra Isle. We're going to find all that shit out.
So, is the drama going to be over, or is there going to be more?
More
we actually-
drama.
I mean,
There's gonna be
now we
more.
have 3 old gods at play here.
Yeah.
We have Leon, who's the one that's been resurrected. We have the one that woke up. Then there's the one that's been unfound.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think you heard her say Lusican.
Yeah.
You heard her say Lusican last time. The name. By name. So
Yeah.
Also, I can just imagine what's going to happen. So remember when Halasair turned into, that?
Yeah.
Who hasn't seen season 2? So that happened to Halasair. I basically picture that, but instead of it being just a thing, it's like a full-on boss battle. And that's going to be...
Where Leon turns into a boss
Yeah.
battle? You mean?
I just want to see the final session where suddenly Leon and Hark co-DM the last session, and the 4 of us have to fight Leon as an old god.
The final boss, Leon. Well, because my Wizarding World campaign, the character's greatest ambition is to become a dragon. Well,
Well. Mhm.
Happened.
Yeah, you must really hate Dragon Age you now.
yeah, curse you.
But yeah, and this, oh my god, with all of this info, what is it going to be like in the Harry Potter world? Like with all of this shit, with literal...
It's so awful we don't get to bring Sir Garrus to HP anymore.
I know.
Ah,
I wanted that so badly.
why
Well,
did you have to kill him, Mark?
Somebody had to die. I mean, I could have killed Rosie.
I
That's what you
know,
wanted me to do.
but...
Somebody had to die.
Hannah will be
And I
mad
really
about
like Bomb, so I wasn't gonna kill Bomb. So
Fair.
We could take Sir Cedric.
just decide to take Cedric. I mean, if Kevin's up for it, I'm not gonna say
Hey,
no.
Kevin, can you be available this
Kevin,
date?
Kevin, if you're in the chat,
Kevin would-
can you just join us again?
I feel like Kevin would totally want to do that, and I feel like
That's-
everybody who's watching wants him to come.
That would
So
be
maybe
really interesting because that means Cedric's been the only one that's crossed twice of actually.
Yeah,
Ooh.
you got a record.
That would be
you got a
interesting.
record, Kevin.
But then we make Sir Cedric interact with Michael the Muggle. And
Oh,
Kevin
yes.
also like
Yes.
so weird.
You better run into Toby in the crossover session.
The Harry Potter players already know the date of the crossover session. They're already preparing. They know the date.
on.
Uh-oh.
So
we need to know. We need to
you
know.
will know soon.
No, we'll
You will know
know.
soon.
Probably
You
gonna
will
be-
know it's coming. You
Probably
will know.
after our next week, we'll be told.
You will know. They're very excited.
Yeah, I was gonna say the problem is they're gonna get a party who's pretty much unhinged with everyone else in the party, so at least they get to talk to others.
They're going to see this wonderful, relatively cohesive, with still some drama happening party, and they're going to see that in the videos, and then we're going to show up and just be like at each other's throats.
Oh. Or maybe it's
Leon,
magical therapy.
Just to have a mind healer over there. That's the whole reason.
Leon's gonna be like, my research for the circle. Were you saying something about a mass killing curse?
Oh no.
Were you talking about a mass killing curse?
Oh no. This is an interesting spell. Just starts reading all
New
the books.
spell. Yes. Could be useful.
Hmm.
I'm sure the Manchester Sidereals are not immune to this. I'm doing it for the Magister Sidereals. Yes.
Next time you see it, just insta kill. There, roll credits.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, if Daretham can like utilize the lyrium and maybe find something like their dragonpox has been cured and stuff over there and diseases, so maybe they can find a cure for the taint over there.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Which I think is really interesting. Leon, the healer, is going over looking for dark blood magic killing shit. Daretham, the evil debuffer darkspawn, is going over looking for cures and healing.
For cures. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love how our combat roles and our actual personality roles are totally flipped.
I don't know if I've mentioned this before. I know I've mentioned it to the group, but we need to get tanks from Harry Potter. We need more like that. I want that to be
No, you
the
just need the blueprint,
section.
you give it to Cersei, and then it's just commonly available technology. Like, we introduced everything from all the realms to Dragon.
Here's some blueprints. We got this from,
Some
another
people. Not
country.
We'll just go over. Hey guys, where's your atomic bombs? Could we get those, please?
We have to nuke 5 sidereals.
Yeah, we just get the plans for a nuke and be like, yo, Cersei, can you, like, make this with Illyrium?
A lot of lyrium for that.
Delirium bomb.
A solar charger with Wikipedia downloaded. Here, Cersei, have fun.
Oh god,
Oh my
even
goodness.
Wikipedia just
We just have a printout of Wikipedia that we give to Cersei.
There's just one massive tome. This is the history of everything, and it is all correct because it was all on this thing called the internet, which is always true.
And the guy that wrote us into existence also knows about this.
Yes.
That's
By the
true.
way, Mark, are we gonna meet the guy who wrote up the Dragon Age fanfiction in the car?
We better meet Toby.
Please tell me we meet him.
We're gonna beat him up.
There's something like, you
Be-
wrote me to kill my dish.
we're all just kicking him to death while the Harry Potter cast like, no! It's so hard to save him.
Mental.
The readers wanted drama. They wanted drama.
Do you know how many of our lives you've ruined over 3 generations?
I hate my sister, you fucker.
And he's like, I can't help it. I based it off of this YouTube campaign that I saw on this YouTube channel called Angel Arts. And then you start seeing, and then I can see Dareth. Wait. That guy is supposed to be playing
Hark in the
me.
crossover?
That guy is playing me. And then
It's just gonna be all of us.
The guy and I just shout, where are they?
Pasha's gonna look and she's like, why does that girl's hair all pink and blue? Like, is that me? That's
Witchcraft.
Is that supposed to be me? Yeah, clearly.
Why does she have light skin?
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh, no. And then we go on an epic quest to rewrite our
Kill all of
history.
Kill all of us.
Persuasive means.
At the end of the gamers, we just rewrite the entirety of the canon.
Yeah.
Epic quest to kill ourselves.
Yes.
That could be the in-person session.
That could be the in-person
Please,
session.
yes.
There we go.
It has to be
Yes,
on the first, though.
Edit it so we can cosplay ourselves.
Yes. You all have your costumes.
I can get it back.
Goodbye. Need to find my old shirt.
Ah.